Hi, I'm Ben Lauer, and this is Michael Kovner, and we're here to give you an overview of Tableau's developer platform. The goal of this presentation is to give you enough information to basically just be dangerous and know which of our APIs and developer tools might be interesting for you in your use case. We're not going to go into things in any grand detail. We want to give you a nice overview so that we can maybe pique your curiosity. We'll give you some resources at the end for you to go deeper and to learn more. So let's just jump in here, and our agenda today is we're going to start with just some overview, use cases, kind of set the stage for what our developer platform is all about. We then have sections. We're going to talk about data connectivity, how you can create custom connectors and get your data into Tableau if one of our native connectors, or if we don't have a native connector available, I should say. We're going to talk about ways you can automate tedious tasks. We'll talk a bit about data science platform integration. We're then going to do some demos and talk about how you can do embedded analytics with Tableau. And then we'll wrap up with some tools and resources, again, that you can use to go deeper. So why do we have a developer platform? Well, here's a few kind of things just to kind of get your mind kind of thinking about this. One would be integrating and extending. We want Tableau, we have the Tableau platform, we want to integrate that with other tools or other platforms that we're using. We can also extend Tableau and go basically beyond what is there in the box. We can do embedded analytics, talked about this a second ago. We can embed our Tableau content anywhere, mobile, web, custom applications. We want to automate things. If I'm a Tableau server admin, I don't want to have to do all of my management of users and content manually. I want to script that, be efficient. We're going to talk about how we can eliminate those tasks. And then the other thing to think about here is customization and unleashing your creativity. We've got some examples of that. So maybe this is you. I need data that's on the web, but there's no connector. How do I get that data into Tableau? I need to analyze my company's proprietary data. I set up sites, users, and permissions over and over. I need to change a workbook to point to a different server. I want to embed a viz on a page and do cool things with it. So this slide here shows the sort of 4 broad use cases or usage scenarios that our developer platform enables. We're going to talk about each of these now as we go through. We've got data connectivity, automation, data science integration, and embedded analytics. So, data connectivity. We've got 3 things here that we want to just educate you on. The first is our extract API. This allows you to basically create custom scripts that pull your data into what are called Tableau data extracts or TDE files, and then make those available either to your desktop or server or online users. We also have our Web Data Connector API. This allows web developers to create basically small web applications that can then pull data from the web and make it available in Tableau. And then finally, we've got a relatively new tool called the Tableau Data Verification Tool. And this allows you, if you have an ODBC driver for a particular data source, you can use TDVT to tune that connector for high performance and a great user experience. So this screen here should look familiar to anyone who's used Tableau before. This is a excerpt from our native connectors, and Tableau connects to lots of things out of the box. But there's this concept that was popularized a few years ago called the long tail. And what this shows is we have a few things at the head that are very popular, and then we have a lot of things in the tail which aren't as popular, but there's many, many of them. And if you look here, the head is where you would think of having the hits. This is where we tend to focus our development effort for our native connectors. We want to make sure that Tableau connects to the most business critical, most popular sources of data: SQL Server, Redshift, DB2, Teradata, so on and so forth. Over here, we have niche connectors. These might be brand new and emerging. They just haven't reached critical mass yet. Or this might be some one-off kind of web application that I'm using on my team, and I want to get that data into Tableau. So our Web Data Connector and Extract API can both help with this scenario. Let's talk a little bit about the Extract API. With the Extract API, you have total control of the data. So if you can connect to your data, you can use the Extract API to get that into Tableau. It runs anywhere. So we've got our 3 icons at the bottom. Our Extract API works with Linux, it works with OS X or what's now called Mac OS, and it also works with Windows. Additionally, you don't need to have Tableau installed on that machine. You just need our Extract API and then the custom code that you write. You can use lots of different programming environments. We have support for Python, C++, Java, and here's some things that you need for the Extract API. Obviously, we need your data, or I should say you need your data. You need to have some programming skills in one of our languages here so that you can write that program to get the data. You use our Extract API, and then you can use whatever developer tool you want. Now, let's talk a little bit about the Web Data Connector. This is designed for data that's accessible over the web, specifically over HTTP or HTTPS in most cases. The nice thing about a Web Data Connector, unlike the Extract API, the Extract API is really good for kind of batch processing, having a job that runs every night. The Web Data Connector can actually provide interactivity to your user. So you can have a web form that prompts the user to make selections, filtering, choose date ranges, whatever it may be, and then you can return just that data to the user in Tableau. Web Data Connectors can also be installed on Tableau Server by the server admin, and those then can become refreshable as part of what's on server. This is a small sampling of some of the Web Data Connectors that have been created. We have a lot of community activity around these, but we can get data from MailChimp or Facebook or Twitter, Strava, Fitbit, the list goes on and on. So these are some of those very popular and I will say critical web applications that are now available in Tableau thanks to the Web Data Connector. Now, what do you need to write a WDC? You write a web page or a web app. You also will need the web-based data source. The SDK that we provide you includes a simulator as well as lots of sample code. And I encourage anytime we have sample code to just use that as a good starting point, definitely as a good reference point. You also will need to include our library, the Tableau WDC library, in your web application. And you do need some ability to write some JavaScript. So, automation. So now let's talk a little bit about how our developer platform enables automation. We have a bunch of APIs and tools listed here. Our document API is something that allows you to modify our workbooks, be it a TWIB or a TWIBIX, in a data source, a TDS or a TDSX file. The Extract API we mentioned earlier is also included here because it's oftentimes used for automation or automating different tasks. The REST API and TSC. TSC stands for Tableau Server Client. It's just a client library that exposes our REST API capabilities, but that's really all about automating things with users and permissions and groups and content with Tableau Server and Tableau Online. The Tableau Services Manager, or TSM, is a new tool and new set of APIs that we're shipping with our Tableau Server on Linux release, and this will ship with the Windows version as well. And this is all about managing and scaling Tableau clusters, workers, and processes. And then finally, tab admin and tab command are command line utilities that provide equivalent functionality to both TSM and the REST API. So why would we use the REST API? It's all about automating tedious tasks. Again, it's managing sites and users and permissions, workbooks, data sources, publishing workbooks and data sources to our server or to Tableau Online. How do we do it? Well, we basically need to send web requests over HTTP to one of the Tableau Server REST API endpoints. Our URLs end with your server URL. slash API, the version number of the REST API. We do version it. We add capabilities typically in every release. And then you would send a request body as XML or JSON, and then that's how you communicate with the REST API. We support basic operations like creating, reading, updating, and also deleting objects with the REST API. So let's compare the REST API with the Tableau Server Client library. The REST API is going to be usable in any language that supports HTTP, which is frankly today just about any of them. And you are going to have direct access to all of the endpoints. I'll say the caveat with the REST API is you're typically going to have to write a lot more code to construct all of your request bodies and the responses. The Tableau Server Client, on the other hand, is just a thin client wrapper. It's currently available only in Python, but it makes working with the REST API much easier because you don't have to write all of that code that I mentioned earlier. We abstract all that away. Now, while it is Python only today, we do have plans to expand our languages in the future, and if there's a particular language that you'd like to use it in, we'd love to hear from you and help us prioritize that. So what do you need? Well, you need Tableau Server or Tableau Online, and you need an account with sufficient permissions to work with content. That's typically going to be a site administrator on something like Tableau Online, or a site or server admin if it's on Tableau Server on premises. The REST API, we mentioned any language that supports HTTP. And then the way you can get our server client library is you can get that via pip install or directly from GitHub. It is an open source project. And again, the TSC is currently Python. We do have a lot of samples, by the way, that you can use to get up to speed really, really quickly on both the REST API and the Tableau Server Client. Let's talk a little bit about the Document API. This is really about stopping XML hacking. XML hacking isn't necessarily bad, it's just not officially supported, and it can cause things to break over time because sometimes we will change our file format version kind of under the hood. So the Document API is a supported way to make programmatic changes to Tableau files like our workbooks and our data sources. Why would we use the Document API? Well, maybe we have a dashboard or a workbook that we've got perfectly dialed in, and now we just want to programmatically change it from a test database to a production database. We can do that with the Document API. We can also replicate workbooks that need to be usable on lots of different databases. One example would be I have a dashboard that's tied to a particular database schema, but I have multiple client databases and they all have have the same schema, but their data is unique and separated. So I can create that dashboard one time, and then I can programmatically provision that for all of my clients, and so it'll point at their respective databases. Also, we've got some samples. It's really easy to combine using the Document API with the Tableau Server Client, so I can have super efficient code. I don't have to write a bunch of things to enable not only programmatically changing content, but also then publishing it to server or to online with TSC. So what do we need? Well, to use the Document API, you're going to need a Tableau workbook or data source. You'll need the Document API. This is an open source project on GitHub, so it's available via pip. You can get it directly from GitHub as well, although we recommend just installing via pip. And then you'll need some Python skills. Now, just like the Tableau Server Client, we've started in Python. We do want to expand to more languages in the future, so please give us your feedback on what you'd like to see next as far as language support.
Now, another key area of the developer platform is data science integration. Tableau Desktop has a growing list of statistical algorithms that come out of the box, but we know that data scientists want to create their own algorithms, or many enterprises are now spending money to have access to external data science, advanced statistics, and machine learning algorithms. Our data science integration allows you to leverage those right inside of Tableau Desktop and Tableau Server. And it works the same whether you're using our integration, TabPy, which is our Python integration, or MATLAB integration. Essentially, you'll set up a server for those different languages to be served up, and then you can go into Tableau Server or Tableau Desktop, configure those so that they are speaking to these servers, and now you can leverage those algorithms in your Tableau analyses. The next core use case of the Tableau developer platform is embedded analytics. What we mean by embedded analytics is taking Tableau, any of Tableau's components, and embedding those inside of your web application. Usually that means embedding Tableau dashboards inside of your web application to enable the type of analyses that Tableau is known for. So there are 4 key pieces of functionality that enable embedded analytics with Tableau. The first is Tableau's JavaScript API. Essentially, this allows you to embed the dashboards into your web page. That's the critical part of the front-end integration. But as soon as you do that embedding, you've now enabled some really cool front-end integration as well, which we'll talk about in a second. Once you embed that, if you have a Tableau dashboard or a series of Tableau dashboards embedded inside of a modern web application, you will probably need to do some back-end integration, management of users, content, etc. And as Ben already explained, you can do those things with the REST API and Tableau Server Client. So you have your dashboard embedded inside of your web application, and you have your back-end integration with the REST API. You will also need to make sure that your users, when they log into your web application, don't have to then see a Tableau Server login screen. And we have a variety of ways to enable single sign-on. Now, finally, you may want to embed in a very similar way into some mobile application. And we have what is known as the Mobile App Bootstrap, which serves both as a template and a sample code for you to do that mobile embedding. Okay, let's talk about the JavaScript API. Let's say you have a website. This is a great website with all kinds of cool content that you've written, and you want to put a Tableau dashboard inside of it. Now, you may know that you can already do this with a simple copy-paste embed code, but if instead you decide to use the JavaScript API, and this is some sample code on how to do that, then you are going to enable a lot more robust integration. And we like to say this enables what's known as two-way communication. You can tell the dashboard what to do, and your web page can respond to events that happen on the Tableau dashboard. I'd like to show you a couple of demos to explain why that's important. So here we have from our friends at themarkscard.com a really cool sample of just using the basic JavaScript API functionality for really cool effect. So they have this news article, and on the left-hand column you see a variety of words, etc., with some orange highlighted links. This is all outside of the Tableau Viz, which is on the right-hand column. But when you hover over any of these orange links, the Tableau dashboard highlights to show you the context. So when you're reading about low tuition in a few of these key states, the Viz to the right will highlight that to give you the more context. So this is a simple example of just using a couple of the JavaScript API's functions to really increase the context and insight that your users gain from your visualization. That is all what we call the first arrow of the communication, having your web page tell the visualization to do something. In this case, highlight and filter. Here's a demo showing the other side of the JavaScript API communication, which is having your web page respond to events inside of the dashboard. This is a HR analysis software. So someone an HR analyst might be looking at the dashboard, interested in people who are getting low reviews, and then noticing, for example, Thornton here is getting way too high of a salary. So the HR analyst might pick a few of these employees to then run an audit on. What we've done using the JavaScript APIs, event listeners, is take that data from the dashboard and then run it inside of another system. And that type of communication can enable all kinds of very interesting integrations. So we just talked about a couple of the key functions of the JavaScript API, but it can do all kinds of things to enable really rich integrations between the front end of your web app and your dashboard. Using a lot of those ideas, you can come up with really cool integrations. A few examples of things people have done is really interesting, rich portals. People have even taken this to the extreme and built games that use the Tableau dashboard as the scoreboard. And finally, using really cool web technologies, you can send data back and forth between clients and create chat apps and other really cool web applications. So those are the main pieces of functionality of the Tableau developer platform. A quick summary. We have the web data connector, which allows you to write your own connector to any web-based data source. We have the extract API, which allows similar programmatic creation of Tableau data extracts. The document API allows you to crack into that XML and modify the workbooks in a programmatic way.
But in a very supported way.
In a very supported way.
Yes.
The JavaScript API allows you to do embedding and rich integration between the front end of your web application and Tableau dashboards. And the REST API / Tableau Server Client allows back-end integration, programmatic content, and user administration. And finally, the mobile app Bootstrap allows you to embed Tableau content inside of mobile applications.
So let's go over a few more resources here that you can use to go deeper. We have our developer portal. So maybe we can show that here in one of the screens. This is actually at developers.tableau.com. This is sort of your jumping off point for all of our APIs. We've got API developer docs, we've got tutorials, we've got sample code. We've also got a community forum. So if you have questions, if you need help, our community is there helping each other. We've also got a relatively new resource called the Embedding Playbook. If you want to know exactly how to do embedded analytics with Tableau, this free resource on GitHub will walk you through all of the components that you need and how you can put them all together to do nice embedding with Tableau. We've also got Tableau's home on GitHub, github.com/Tableau. We've got a growing number of open source projects here. We talked about the Tableau Server Client. We talked about the Document API. We've got other projects here that we put out there. We want your feedback. We want your participation. So check that out. And then finally, if you go over to YouTube and search for #DataDev, you'll find a playlist of different videos that we've recorded, tutorials. We've also got some things that the community has submitted there for other inspiring hack projects. So definitely give that a look as well. Thank you for taking the time to learn a little bit more about Tableau's developer platform. And again, this is just scratching the surface. Please check out our other resources so that you can go deeper and let us know if there's something that you want to be able to do with an API. We really crave and we really respond to our customers' feedback. So please let us know. And also just get in touch and let us know if you're using something and if it's going great. We love hearing those types of things too. So again, this is Ben Lauer with Michael Kovner, and thanks for watching.